Last week, you'll remember that we had Charlie Lee as the centerpiece of my show, and he spoke about his personal investing portfolio, or the investments that he makes in cryptocurrency. Well, I traveled 7,000 miles and I found his brother Bobby Lee in Berlin, and he's got something very controversial. He says that the blockchain cannot be used for any real-world applications. Yeah, you heard right. The blockchain cannot be used for any real-world applications. Bobby, that's a crazy statement. It's controversial. Tell me why.
So I'm going to clarify the statement a little bit first. So for the very specific database that we call the blockchain, that's been invented with Bitcoin in 2009. And that type of database, the blockchain, actually cannot be used for real-world activities, real-world stuff. And the reason is that people all think and all know that blockchain is immutable. It's public, meaning the data is public, it's replicated around the world, it's decentralized and distributed, and it uses proof of work or proof of stake and so on and so forth. That's all good, but people often forget that the data that goes into the blockchain, first has to be publicly verifiable. What does that mean? It means that the data goes in, if it's not without controversy, then it's essentially my private information.
Okay.
Right, think about just something simple. What's the temperature here in this room?
Just 30 degrees.
30 degrees. So if you were to put that data into the blockchain, let's say we have a blockchain just for your records of all the city temperatures in the world, and you put in here 30 degrees for Berlin.
There's no one to dispute it because it could be 30.1 or 30.2.
Well, that's exactly. So I think it is disputable whether it is 30 degrees, because you might say it's 30.0, or you might round it to 30, but I might think it's only 29.97, or I might even say it's 28 degrees because we use a different thermometer. So the point that even the temperature data, people think of it as objective, is actually not objective. It's actually subjective, because it's all about where you measure it, when you measure it, and to what granularity, how many decimal places, right? So in that sense, temperature data is subjective. And if that subjective data is in the blockchain, either you own the blockchain and you're the centralized source of information, or it cannot go in the blockchain because people would dispute it.
So what you're saying is, in the Bitcoin blockchain, a transaction cannot be disputed. If I have 100 Bitcoin and I give you 5, 100 less 5 equals 95, 95 plus 5 equals 100.
Yeah, the 95 goes back to you, the 5 comes to me. And as long as you have the private key, you use your private key for that Bitcoin address to sign a message that says you took 5 out of the 100 and the 95 goes back to you. That message is internally consistent, what they call. So meaning that message is true as long as the computers and the people around us use the same mathematics, which is cryptography.
So you're saying that all these ICOs that are building blockchain-related projects should be built on databases?
Exactly. So for example, a classic example is, healthcare data on the blockchain. Well, what does that mean, right? So does this person have diabetes? We put that in the blockchain. Well, who's to say he or she has diabetes? It's just one doctor's opinion, right? Maybe one other doctor, one other crazy or whatever less capable doctor might say that patient doesn't have diabetes, right? So that's my point. Whether or not a patient has diabetes, if it gets written into the blockchain, really what we're trusting is the doctor who wrote that into the blockchain. We're not trusting the blockchain itself.
So what should we use the blockchain for other than spending and running money transactions, Bitcoin transactions?
So I'll be honest with you. The blockchain was invented with the creation and invention of Bitcoin. And to this day, and I've been in the industry for over 5 years, almost 7 years if you're counting when I first involved with Bitcoin itself. In the last 7 years, I've been thinking about this a lot, and my thesis about blockchain not being suitable for real-world applications is only in the last 6 months. So it took me this long to come to this sort of pessimistic realization. And my current understanding is only cryptocurrency transactions, because they're so virtual and digital in nature and use mathematics, there's no controversy. You know, if this account has 1.00000 Bitcoins, then that's what account has, because that's, according to the blockchain, has 1.00. It's not about 0.999 rounded up, nor is it about 1.001 rounded down. So everything's very precise.
So what you're saying has huge implications for the current, if your thesis is correct, then the current $200 billion or $150 billion in the ICO market could just disappear.
Well, it wouldn't disappear. Some of the projects are decent if they really reclassified what they're.
So he does bring up something scary, but it could be true where a lot of these projects that are being invested on are very pie in the sky and may not have any future use. But I'm going to counter and I'm going to disagree with the fact if you're working with some of these top 10 coins where their market caps are over a billion, I find it very unlikely. They might be a little overpriced, but I don't see them going completely zilch to zero. And that's why I've been recommending stay in the top 10, understand what you're investing in, and obviously before you put into a large sum of money into cryptocurrency, make sure you understand what's going on with each project so you feel comfortable. But let me know what you guys think about this interview. I think it's very, very interesting. I learned a lot, so I'm happy to share it with you guys, and I will talk to you soon.